Let's now look at a couple of examples of the acetoacetic ester or malonic ester synthesis. And here would be two possible problems. So you've got this one, and the question is how would these be synthesized from acetoacetic ester or malonic ester? So they would use the appropriate synthesis, and the appropriate synthesis depends upon what we're making. In this instance, we're making a methyl ketone, which means we're going to be starting out with our friend acetoacetic ester, which means that we'll be starting out down here with this compound. Alright, so that'll be our first one. Now we know that in the first step we'll be adding NaOMe and methanol. Now let me point out that whatever ester you have here has to match up here, otherwise we're going to be subject to transesterification processes. So just make sure that these guys match. And now we've got to figure out what we're going to add at this point. So what I like to do is look at the problem and then circle the different groups that have attached to the alpha carbon of the carbonyl group, because we know that that carbon is the same as the middle carbon of the acetoacetic ester. Now it doesn't matter which alkyl group we start with first. I'll start with the bottom one. And what I'll do is I will put a bromine here. So you always put a bromine on the group that has joined on to this middle carbon here from the acetoacetic ester. And that will leave us with this. And then we can go ahead and do the next step, which again is the addition of base. And the other alkyl halide. So we're looking at this one and we're going to have the bromine hanging off down here. There we go, so that would be the alkyl group we'd be adding. And we know that that's going to again add to the middle carbon of the acetoacetic ester. And you can see that now we've got the two alkyl groups added to our acetoacetic ester. In the next step, we know what's going to happen is that we are going to hydrolyze the ester. Which produces the carboxylic acid from the ester. Then we heat this and we end up with the desired methyl ketone plus CO2. Alright, so there you go. You can also add in plus methanol here if you'd like. So we've got our entire synthetic process here, and I want you to notice that really the only thing that's going to vary in this synthetic process, well, first of all, you've got to figure out whether you're going to be making a methyl ketone or a carboxylic acid. That's going to matter. The other thing that's going to matter is what alkyl halide you add, and really that's pretty much going to be the only thing that varies. When that varies, of course, the groups attached here and here are going to vary as well. But that's the entire synthesis if we wanted to make compound A. Alright, if we want to make compound B, the process is pretty similar. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be starting off now with this compound, which is malonic ester. And the reason we know we need to go with that one is because we've got a carboxylic acid here as a product. Now, as we did in the previous one, we'll add base in the first step, and then we'll add an alkyl halide. I'll start with the top one this time. It doesn't really matter which one you start with, whether you start with the first of it, the top one, or the bottom one. It's unimportant. You'll notice I'm going the opposite direction to what I did with the other one. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll have a bromine attached to that. And that will allow us to attach our first alkyl group. And then we do our next addition of base. And we'll add our next alkyl group. And again, notice that the Br gets attached to the C that's connected to the C that would have been the middle carbon from the malonic ester. That's always what we're looking at. This C is never part of the alkyl groups, by the way, because it's always part of the malonic ester. This C is actually this C right here. So continuing on. We've got that, which will then be hydrolyzed. And in the case of malonic ester, both methyl ester groups end up being hydrolyzed. And then we heat. Sometimes you might see the symbol delta, that's okay as well. And we'll end up with our carboxylic acid. Plus CO2, and if you like, plus methanol down here. Alright, so just summarizing, it doesn't matter which of these you do first. I could have put this one here and this one here, it doesn't matter. And then we can go through, we do exactly the same thing as we did with the acetoacetic ester. The only difference is we end up with a carboxylic acid as a product as opposed to a methyl ketone as a product.